All right, let's finish up the you ought to know section. We've got 2 more questions left, and these questions are for the interquartile range. I'm on page 174. The interquartile range measures the dispersion of the inner half of the data, sort of a half range, if you want to call it that, okay? It doesn't mean you divide the range by 2. It means you only take from the 25th to the 75th percentile. So the range of my data right here from page 174, you have 1, 49, a bunch of 50s, couple 52s, 54, 55, 100. So the range is going to be 100 minus 1. Smallest is 1, largest is 100. But what about the interquartile range? What's that going to be? Well, the first thing you have to do is divide this data into quartiles. So I've put the marks in here to begin with. This is quartile number 1. This is quartile 2, also known as the median. This right here is quartile 3, which is going to be the, quartile 3 is going to be like the 75th percentile. This is obviously the largest, the smallest, and this is obviously the largest. So those are the things you want to know. The largest point, the smallest point, the largest point, quartile 1, quartile 2, which is the median, and quartile 3. The interquartile range is simply the distance from quartile 1 to quartile 3. So actually, in this case, we're going to subtract them the other way. We're going to go Q3 minus Q1 because Q3 is bigger. So Q3 is the average between 52 and 54. So Q3 is 53. The median is going to be the average between 50 and 50, so the median is 50. Quartile 1 is also between 50 and 50, so quartile 1 is 50. So how do we know this? Well, there are 12 items on this list. So every 3 items is 1/4, and that's the quartile. So the end of the first quarter, we're at 50. The end of the third quarter, we're at 53. So the interquartile range is simply 53 minus 50 is just 3. So the range is 99, but the interquartile range is just 3. This tells us that there are some extreme outliers. And you can see that 1 and 100 and everything else is between 49 and 55. So that's why the interquartile range can be more relevant for certain things, income, things like that, where there's big disparities. Now, there's something called the whisker plot, the box and whisker. The box and whisker, which is what we have up here. So here's how the box and whisker works. We're on page 177, questions 19 and 20. So the box shows you quartile 1, quartile 3, and quartile 2, which is, of course, this is the median. So that's the median. So now you've got your interquartile range, right? You've got that. And then the whisker shows us the extremes. So the extreme here, the extreme here, okay? This is the lowest. This is the highest. This is the 25th percentile, the exact middle, and the 75th percentile. So we have 2 questions to ask on this one, 19 and 20. Approximately how many are less than 150 pounds? We get 500 male students. So keep that in mind. They gave us a number. So take a few seconds and figure out how many of them are less than 150. Well, you can see that the 150 is at quartile 1, which is the 25th percentile. So 25% of people are below that. So 25% of 500 is simply 125. So 19 is going to be E. The answer is going to be 125. Okay, you see that? Now let's look at 20. The total range of the data is approximately what percent greater than the interquartile range? That's what IR is. So the total range of the data, approximately what percent greater than the interquartile range? So go ahead and solve that one, and then start it back up. Okay, so now that you've solved it, let's get the total range. The range is going to be the largest and then the smallest, right? So largest minus the smallest. So the range here is going to be a high of 215, and a low of 135. You see exactly where those go. So it's going to be 215 minus 135. That's going to be 80. So the range is going to be 80. But what about the interquartile range? What's that going to be? Well, the interquartile range is just quartile 3 versus quartile 1. So Q3 minus Q1 is going to be 190 minus 150. And that's 40. Now, remember, we're looking for percent greater. So that formula is new value minus original value over original times 100. So the new value is the one that, the original value is the one that comes after the word than. Because whatever comes after than is on the bottom. So the interquartile range is on the bottom, it's the original value. So the new value is 80. So 80 minus 40 over 40 equals 40 over 40 equals 1, and of course times 100. The correct answer is going to be answer choice C. When you double something, when it's twice as big, it's 100% greater. Twice as big, 100% greater. Okay? So that is the box and whisker. That is the interquartile range, and that is it for book 6.